Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Palestine action and the government's response, and the whole world's, or Britain at least, our response to it. It's interesting how revealing it is what people think about the topic, about the issue. So first of all, before I really get stuck in, need to mention a new show that's come on lotuseaters.com. It is behind the paywall, so if you're interested, go to the website. For as little as £5 a month, become a bronze tier member and get Realpolitik with Firas Modad. It's sort of geopolitics stuff. That's his wheelhouse.
It's good.
He really does know his onions when it comes to geopolitics. I hope to make some content with him myself, actually. I'm really interested to pick his brain.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so check that out. All right, so Palestine action. What did they actually do? What have they actually done? Well, let's have a quick look. This is what they did. This is in RAF Briars Norton, the biggest RAF station in Britain, in Oxfordshire, southern England. Spraying loads of red paint into the engine. I want to turn the volume off. Spraying loads of paint into the engine of they're a refuelling plane, mid-air refuelling plane. I think we've only got 2 of them. They're quite rare. We haven't got a giant fleet of them, and they're absolutely vital for sort of projecting power across the world. So it is part of our defence and foreign policy. A little pink carrier bag there. So that was one of the things they did.
What are they on?
A little e-scooter things.
E-scooters. Probably drugs involved in that.
So before we go on to do any sort of analysis, just say what happened. So they crept onto RAF Briars Norton, onto the actual airstrip there, and did what they did, and then left, got away without being caught or apprehended.
How?
Right.
That's the question, isn't it? And it was only, I think, when they posted their own clip, because they're filming themselves here, obviously. It was only when they posted it, the powers that be, the police, RAF Briars Norton, the Home Office or whatever, Ministry of Defence, like, oh, really?
It was you.
Yeah.
If you go down to Briars Norton today, they didn't know.
So do we know how many, soldiers, men were staffing, just on guard at the time?
Well, okay, I was going to leave that element till last.
Oh, sure.
No, let's talk about that now. So, first of all, my first reaction when I heard about this was exactly that. How is that possible?
Yeah.
Even really small RAF bases are heavily guarded whenever I've seen them. Perimeter fences, double perimeter fences, guys on sentry, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So RAF Briars Norton, how have they done that? It's a great question. I don't know. I'm not sure anyone really knows.
Is it because they've got an HR manager now in charge and they had to do all their diversity training that night?
Well, this is the person who's ultimately the commander of the station.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still, after all this.
No further comment. I mean, she's obviously not responsible personally for the perimeter, but the buck stops with her, or should do.
Look, she is. She's in charge.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are the men, the women, and the others that it's guarding it?
Yeah.
It
is crazy to me. So it's so crazy that it's suspicious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Good.
There's that angle to bear in mind.
They let them get on.
Did they? I don't know.
But hang on a minute.
It's
what if
that's
they
a
went
possibility, isn't it?
A couple of things. If they got on the e-scooters, which I think, okay, they weren't too noisy in a big airport like that, that's silent at night. But what if they'd had a couple of bombs?
Right, exactly, yeah.
What if they'd got something else that was in there? What if they were just trying to transport something to another country?
What if they put a delayed reaction bomb?
Absolutely.
And it blew up mid-air or something?
That's right.
It's worrying.
How would no one know if they've just gone away and then they post it a few days later, this is what we've done?
And let alone perimeters and sentries and pickets and all that sort of thing. How is that bit of ground not got multiple cameras on it at all times? And at least one person, if not many people, watching the CCTV at all times? How is that not the case?
Yeah.
There's
so many different things that don't add up.
Yeah, I'm not enjoying this excuse other than that she should be fired now she's in charge.
Absolutely, yeah. So just quickly to finish up on the point of, it's suspicious where they're allowed in or whatever. Is this a false flag? Right, one possibility is that these are just straight up Palestine action dudes.
Yeah.
The second is that maybe Palestine action has been infiltrated by another another
MI5 special branch, one of our own mob.
Well, there's a couple of different angles I thought of. One is that they could be Jewish or pro-Zionist, and their ultimate aim was to get Palestine Action Proscribed, or not even 4D chess, 5D chess. They're actually like British MI5 or whatever, but then it gets quite murky at that point. Like, so what was their ultimate aim?
Well, what happened to Palestine Action Group? That's the ultimate aim.
To get them proscribed still.
Yeah.
All right. Not to draw out nativists' ire.
No.
No, just get them prescribed. Possibly. I mean, I obviously I don't know. I've got no special insight into the inner work, the inner sanctums of Palestine Action. But
anyone interviewed the two bikists yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
Got their names?
Not that I'm aware of.
Anyone announced who they are?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I think they are. But
we're now acting like proper journalists. You know that, don't
we? But also, there's another thing they did. Oh, and the damage. The damage. So, I've seen various numbers thrown around. One was £15 million worth of damage.
Yeah.
Someone else said it was 50 million. Whatever it is, it's multiple millions worth of damage.
Yeah.
They've probably got to replace that entire turbine, I would have thought. Okay. And so one thing to say is, okay, on one end of the spectrum, to be as nice to them as possible, not that I'm that way inclined, is that it's just criminal damage. Very, very large criminal damage.
Yeah.
But it's no more than criminal damage. On the other end of the spectrum, you could say it's sedition, treason.
Yeah.
It's among the worst crimes. You're actually messing with military assets. I mean, that's pretty bad.
At minimum, it's also trespassing as well.
Oh, at minimum, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the sort of thing, I don't want to be too hyperbolic about it, but it's the sort of thing special forces would do. You go to an enemy airbase, infiltrate it late at night, and ruin their aircraft while they're still on the ground. That's a classic special forces.
Special Forces e-scooter division.
With a pink carrier bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just seen Banksy getting down onto all the Iranian planes and put a picture of a mullah with freedom written across his chest. You know, that upset them more.
Another thing they did, though, was they did this. I'll turn the volume off on that, but let's play this because they did some other criminal things. Actually, let's hear the sound. Samson, can you put the sound on it? Just running amok. Anyway, you get the point. They're running round that facility, which was apparently they made this company, whatever they were, they were involved in making components for Israelis or something along those lines, something that was anti-Palestine, anti-Gaza. But they went in there and doing, again, on one end of the spectrum, just criminal damage. On the other end of the spectrum, you know, it's an affront to the very rule of law itself. You can't go around doing that.
No, you can't. You can't. And nor can you put videos like that with really stupid music on it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's telling, isn't it?
I mean, that's it. You know, it's giving the game away, isn't it?
My personal opinion is that these are just fifth columnists.
Yeah.
I would go so far as to call them terroristic.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they're not killing anyone.
No, they're not, and they're not bombing children in a pop concert.
Right.
I give it that, but they are acting like a fifth column, and they also have no musical taste. I think even drum and bass would probably have been a little bit better with the smashing things up there. You know, maybe their friends in Brixton would have been saying that's culturally not acceptable. You're stealing the culture. But at the end of the day, these people need to be dealt with when they're doing proper criminal actions like that.
Any way you cut it, it's certainly criminal, isn't it?
Without a doubt. You know, at the higher end of the level.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But I do take the point, though, you're drawing that sedition, that moving across to the terrorism element when you're destroying the infrastructure that's due to protect our nation. If it was the IRA doing it, we'd certainly be saying that's terrorism. So they're very close to the line, if not already across that line.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of
a difficult one now.
So there is sort of
different things, aren't we?
There is a grey area around what is the exact definition of terrorism, because us on the right side of the aisle, we get accused of being right-wing extremists or even terrorists for even thought crimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it is sort of a grey area. Again, it's it's non-violent in terms of sort of human on human violence, but it's highly, highly criminal stuff. In my opinion, I mean...
It is, and I think the probably one reason why they think they can get away with just what they might regard as bland criminal damage is because they're seeing any time an organisation that's doing criminal damage, they're now being let off by the courts, in effect. Even those when they got sentenced to prison for Just Stop Oil, they were then released afterwards, saying that they shouldn't have gone to prison. So maybe they've got that in their calculations.
A lot of institutional sympathy.
Yeah,
for things like this.
Yeah, quite possibly.
So security reasons like yourself should be properly addressed to it.
I just feel like going on to an army RAF Bryce Norton and damaging military assets. It's about as seditious as you can get without hurting people.
I mean, I don't know the rules on bases like that, but weren't they also taking their lives in their hands? What if someone had shot them?
Possibly, yeah.
What if they'd opened fire,
thinking
that they were some sort of Iranian terrorist, Russian terrorist or Chinese terrorist, or just terrorists from Brixton?
It's extremely
I don't
brazen.
know why I'm keeping saying Brixton. Brixton probably get me into trouble now.
Well, they have a reputation, don't they?
Yeah.
It's extremely brazen, isn't it?
Right.
To attempt that Bryce Norton op.
Oh yeah.
Very, very brazen. I mean, as I say, it's in the category of a special forces thing. It's sort of...
They got away with it with no one noticing until they posted it.
It's embarrassing.
I'm still stunned by that.
It's embarrassing.
I'm still stunned by that.
I'm highly embarrassed by that.
Yeah, I am.
As an Englishman. Right? It's like, oh dear.
Yeah, well, we got one of the most secure nations in the world.
And what does that signal to, outside adversaries?
Yeah.
That's how easy it is to break into our air bases.
If a couple of jabronis on an e-scooter can do that.
Hang on a minute, weren't they Deliveroo?
What if they were,
just got off Channel Magnets giving a Deliveroo and they got it wrong.
What if there were an actual sort of military-trained sleeper cell that did something similar, and they could have just bombed they could have blown up all the aeroplanes that evening, couldn't they?
Fair point. That is a fair, dangerous point that it could have done.
Okay, so government response. Our Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, Mrs. Balls, has come out and said, Ms. Balls has come out and said that she wants to, or they're going to, apparently, prescribe them, ban them.
Right.
Now, I'm all for that. Yeah, ban them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fifth column in our mix.
Okay,
it's an enemy inside the gates.
Yep.
Ban them, please, yes. Now, it's revealing how different people feel about that. Because there are all sorts of arguments of, like, that's authoritarian. If they will do it to them, they can do it to us.
Well,
they already do that sort of thing.
Well, our discussion pre-show is my initial reaction to banning any organisation is something that we on the right should be very careful about assessing and agreeing to, only because if they're willing to do that to the left, they're going to treat us even worse and look to ways that they can ban us, just in a way that they can use the law to enhance sentences, for example, or restrict you from being on channels or close you down. So my initial gut reaction is, don't ban, find a way of some other strong way of sending out a message that they can't act in that way. The key point here is whether drawing that line that you've put is, are they terrorists? And you could be. I'm beginning to think differently about whether they are. You're putting a point across to me that's making my mind move towards the sedition element.
Well, if I may, I was just going to say that I think that implicit in the name is obviously the cause that they care about, and from my point of view, the terroristic aspect of this is just the sabotaging of Britain and its means to fight, right? It's not Britain's actual view on foreign policy, right? Because that doesn't define your identity.
Yeah.
But certainly, breaking into a military base and hampering Britain's ability to fight, should it need to, that is, and having that political input, that is where the terroristic aspect comes from.
It's a very great word, sabotage. Yeah. But let's be fair, military-grade sabotage.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think that's where you're drawing me into the fact that I think it's the military-grade sabotage of something that actually is used to protect us. not the crossing of the fence in itself, not about being ridiculously showing us up and embarrassing us for not having any security, but the military grade denouement, I think, is really something that could be that. What is she saying then? Where's she going with this?
Yeah, well, apparently they are. I think in the next day or two,
Right.
they're going to get prescribed. That's what all the articles are saying.
Okay.
I think as of right now, as of recording, they're still not prescribed, but they're going to be in a day or two. Certainly, Sir Keir's government took a dim view of it, although not that strong. I mean, he did come out and condemn it and say this is unacceptable, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But his rhetoric was much stronger against the Southport rioters. You know, remember when he said, he looked into the camera, I guarantee you will regret this. All that stuff. He didn't say it wasn't that strong.
No.
Okay. So his two-tier nature is coming back out.
But still, it looks like they are going to be prescribed. So I mean, I'm all for it because it, as you say, it's a slippery slope, thin end of the wedge. If they prescribe them, they'll go on to prescribe others, including us. But it does depend what you've done.
Yeah.
Right. So us or New Culture Forum say, or even Patriotic Alternative, they're not going around doing military grade sabotage. We're not actually committing any crimes.
No.
So let's make a distinction.
But I might come into that when we do my piece. Let's park that, because I think what you're saying there is a very interesting element of how they might try and find ways to get us.
Sure.
But
that would be a worry anyway, wouldn't it?
Yeah. No.
Whether these guys get prescribed or not, that would still be the case, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. So, I'm always worried about that. And the other aspect about it is just, correct me if I'm wrong, did Keir Starmer defend a group of people that went onto a military base? Maybe the audience know that. Did he? Did he defend them?
What was this? What are you talking about specifically?
Keir Starmer, when he was a lawyer, did he not defend the actions of a group of people that did something similar on a base? I'm trying to, and whether this is just something that have just sprung to my mind, but I'm certainly did defend somebody like that.
I don't know about that.
Maybe our audience can pick that up for us.
It sounds like the sort of thing he would do, doesn't it? Certainly.
Isn't he therefore on a real slippery slope to ban these people when he acted for them in courts last time? Nice one.
Funny, you do wear a different hat when you're a prosecutor or even the head of the CPS, or whether you're the head of government.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to play defence for Keir Starmer, but still, I'm happy that they would be they would be banned. Whether you want to say they are full-blown terror group or whatever, still they're running around ignoring the rule of law.
Yeah.
At a military grade, you can't have that. We can't have that.
The other interesting aspect is the terror element. I mean, their argument, I'm assuming, is that they're not causing terror to any individual. But I'm trying to remember, again, in a terrorist act, I don't think you need to actually have some kind of fear of individuals, do you? It's not like, it's a terrorist act when you're being attacked by an individual on the street. But I think the extension of that is something different. Isn't it the preparation also of activities that could lead to terror? They've
prosecuted, not that I'm happy with this or condoning this, but they prosecute people under anti-terror laws for all sorts of stuff, right? All sorts of stuff. If you're just being a bit of a nuisance on the street, the police will detain you under anti-terrorism laws. Yeah. So, not that I'm happy about that.
No.
Let's be clear, but that is, the police and the state already use these laws way beyond their original purpose.
Which is where I come into, is I'm happy to see action taken against Palestinian action or Palestine action. But when they're starting extending the terrorist act, I do get a little bit worried about how that you're raising some really important points. If they're already using it on legitimate individuals for just protest, our concern is there for where we are in our arguments. Because at the end of the day, we're right, they're wrong. But I mean, not that I'm, being pejorative, but I am.
I mean, I've seen body cam or people with their phone just in the street, and they're basically being a bit of a nuisance one way or another, whether legitimately or not, to the policeman.
There we go. Who sabotaged military aircraft? I way back, don't know where I dragged that one out of.
Yeah, good memory there.
Good memory, yeah. 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, it is. It is a long time ago. I remember he was in Doughty Street Chambers, I think, at the time. So the Fairford Five, that's who it was. 2003.
RAF Fairford. Well.
And did they? I think they crossed into Fairford's air base as well. So this creates a kind of like interesting issue for him, because I would be on the attack line with this.
I mean, call me old-fashioned, but I feel like anyone that goes in a military zone where normal civilians aren't meant to go, that's quite a bad crime. That's like for me, that's levels above normal trespassing.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's one thing to put illegal migrants in there. It's another thing for an ordinary member of the public.
That's right. Of course, we're not allowed to put them in because that would be awful.
So I did have another link where it showed that they've got you can donate money to them for their defence.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, someone's saying apparently the Home Office itself is saying that there's an Iran or an Iranian link to this group.
Okay.
Whether that's true or not, because there's other articles, other people saying that's just not true. That's a misinformation, disinformation thing.
Okay.
That's the Home Office just coming out with lies, but they're saying that is the case. Funded by Iran.
Okay.
There was, and then the protest on Monday in Whitehall. There you can see that's just outside down the street, I believe. Certainly Whitehall, isn't it, or Trafalgar Square? A few people were arrested. Like 7 or 10 or 13 people were arrested at that, so it wasn't peaceful.
Well, if you look at the police there again, not dressed in black, not got helmets on, not got stun guns, not got batons, all very peaceable towards them in that way. Yeah, we're on a line. You'd have to expect them to get down on one knee and kneel with them. In that kind of performance. If it was, a march for England or a protest against mass immigration, I can guarantee that police and the way that they're dressed and the approach with them, they'd have horses out there.
Oh, the mounted police, the whole 9 yards. Yep, certainly would. Some MPs are still coming out in support of it. Diane Abbott and Jeremy Corbyn, of course.
Yeah.
Of course they are. Of course they're in support of domestic, the domestic fifth column.
Yeah.
Of course they are. Why not be?
The thing is, as well, just to say about people like Abbott and Corbyn, right? They'll dress this up and masquerade it as well. It's just some of them might have gone onto an airbase, but you can't condemn all of them, like that. They're really just peaceful protesters. But if these people, if Corbyn was Prime Minister, he will crack down on right-wing people for doing far less egregious things, right? So it's not the principle of it.
It's not.
It's just friend-enemy distinction.
That's right, and it's a very clear point, because when we looked at Southport, which we'll look again briefly later on, did they distinguish until much later all the people that were in the kind of protests? No, we were all far-right xenophobes and racists at the time of the riots. And afterwards, no, there were some decent people campaigning. That came later. The first initial reaction of this lot would be to anyone on the right is that they're evil, xenophobe, racist, lock them all up. And it wouldn't be the distinction he's drawing out. It's a good point.
Well, there's been very few enemies of Britain that Corbyn hasn't been in favour of or advocated for his entire career. Very few.
Yeah.
Zara Sultana said, "We are all Palestine action." Are we?
No.
Are we, Zara? Are we though?
I don't know. I don't even know what the symbol is to be with them in one. I don't know. I daren't even move my body in a little bit just in case that we are all Palestinian action.
Turned off replies though.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
Even her own constituents.
We're all Palestine, and to show our solidarity, I'm blocking any comments on that.
Yeah. We're all in unity.
If we're all
here.
Palestine, surely it'd just be a sea of agreement and praise, Zara.
Yeah. Oh, Navarro. Again, it is telling how people fall down on one side or the other on this issue. The lefties, Navarro Media here, for example, they've got their knickers in a twist all about it. They were just saying it's just non-violent direct action. That's all it is. It's certainly not terrorism.
Well, it's hardly, I think the swinging of that hammer or whatever into that piece of machinery, that was not really non-violent.
Yeah,
That's not
non-violent.
That's not sitting down and singing "Come by Palestine" on the floor with crossed legs.
I mean, it's clearly non-violent direct action, not terrorism.
Okay, bro.
Any normal definition of the word.
I completely agree with you, Michael, but I'm...
Of course you do. Yeah. So it's just a little bit of criminal damage, bro.
Yeah. Just like theft from a shop. Taking 3 bags of theft, it's just enough for dinner.
Yeah, it's just it just people. I mean, they'll say exactly the same about us or about me. Of course, you think it's terrorism.
Yeah.
Of course you do. Well, yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And for once, the government agrees with me.
Yeah. Well, even Yvette Cooper agrees with me.
Yeah, we're swinging to the right, love. We're swinging to right, and you better be afraid.
Okay, so that's sort of where we are at the moment. If there are any more developments with it, we'll probably bring them to you.
Cool.
But it's a story that's been going on for a few days now.
Right.
We're going to bring it to you earlier in the week. There you go.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.